From proposed changes to the four-piece program to ongoing relief efforts and expanded services, the Department of Social Welfare and Development continues to serve key roles nationwide. And joining us now to talk about these initiatives is Social Welfare Secretary Rex Gatchalian. Good morning, Secretary Gatchalian. Welcome to Business 360.
Good morning. Good morning to all the televiewers. Thank you for having me this morning.
Let's start with this, Secretary Gatchalian. Senator Erwin Tulfo wants the four-piece program scrapped and give livelihood to the poor instead. Now, what is your reaction to this?
Well, we had a meeting last week and we both agreed to start looking for program enhancements. So I think in the coming months, in the coming days, when we get called to the Senate during the budget season, these things can be threshed out further. We know that the four-piece program is the country's flagship anti-poverty program. It's really meant to break intergenerational poverty. It's an investment to human capital. It's something that the department has been working on for quite some time. And admittedly, there must be program enhancement. I think what Senator Tulfo is talking about would be the aftercare program. We have to also start looking at when families graduate out of four-piece, what do we do with them? We run the risk of them slipping back into poverty. We run the risk of them stagnating. So those were the things that we spoke about last week. We were looking at program enhancements like micro-entrepreneurship for four-piece graduates. There are other tools in the department, such as the Sustainable Livelihood Program, that we spoke about as being part of the toolkit that we can use to make sure that people graduating out of the four-piece don't slip back into poverty.
Now, Secretary Gatchalian, when Senator Tulfo was at the DSWD, he said the four-piece beneficiaries were hurt when they were criticized as mendicants. Did you hear the same sentiment among the beneficiaries?
When I was city mayor, yes. You have to remember I served as city mayor of Valenzuela for 9 years. Obviously, there are everybody. Let's not just focus on the four-piece. Everybody who rate themselves as poor, who come to the department to try to seek for government assistance, would always want a better status and living. They don't want to be perceived as people who are always seeking government help. I think every single Filipino has that sense of pride in them, and that's what he and I agreed on, to try to resharpen our anti-poverty programs so that we don't breed a culture of mendicancy, but rather a culture that empowers our people to decide for themselves. So that's why the concept of giving livelihood assistance, stronger livelihood assistance for our poor, for our four-piece beneficiaries came about. It's something the department has been studying together with the World Bank. We really need to invest in post-four-piece programs that will ensure, as I mentioned, our four-piece not slipping back into poverty. And I guess that applies to every single individual who rate themselves as poor. It's the development side of this department. Remember, we are called Social Welfare and Development, and the development side has to kick in. I think that was the meeting of the mind last week when he came to visit DSWD, that while, yes, social welfare is important, we also have to put equal weight on the development side, making sure that there are long-term solutions that will uplift lives of Filipinos, empower them to open economic opportunities for themselves and their families.
Now, Secretary, the workers lament the money they pay to the government is given to those who are not working. Now, what is your message to them?
I'm sorry, but you got cut off, so I couldn't hear the
Secretary, workers lament that the money they pay to the government is given to those who are not working. What is your message?
We have the assistance to individuals in crisis situation. In fact, if you come visit the department right now, the assistance to individuals in crisis situation is open to everybody. It doesn't discriminate if you're poor, non-poor. As long as you're a family or an individual in a crisis situation, a death in the family, a sickness in the family, that window or that program is open for you. So it's something that we extend to everybody.
Now, the U.S. delivered aid over the weekend for those affected by the monsoon rains and storms. Now, how many are still in evacuation centers, and what's the situation right now in those areas?
Again, there are 15,000 families in various evacuation centers all throughout the country. And the reason that they're there are two. One, for instance, when I went to La Union, despite the fact that there's no more flooding in their homes, the only issue that why they can't go home is that their home, the roofing of their homes got destroyed during the typhoon. Hindi sila makauwi. They can't go home. It's not because it's still flooded, but rather their homes are in shambles. Second, you have areas in Pampanga and in Bulacan where floodwaters are still persistent because of the high tide. Same goes with Malabon and Navotas. So those two factors are still compounding the situation why certain 15,000 families cannot normalize their lives yet. But the department, as of this morning, has already distributed close to 1.5 family food packs and government units so that family food packs get to the families affected, whether you're inside the evacuation center or you're outside the evacuation center. Second, we're already plotting out our emergency cash transfers for recovery so that we can make sure that the families that need to repair their homes, repair their livelihood, gets into the program.
Secretary, what's the current situation on the ground, and do we have enough relief supplies for those in the evacuation centers? You mentioned around 15,000 families.
There, again, the situation on the ground is what I mentioned. There are still pockets of areas that are still inundated by floods because of high tide. There are still families in evacuation centers. We'll see to it that we work with the local government units in trying to get more relief into these areas. Second, do we have enough family food packs? Yes. If you can recall, the disaster response portfolio really falls with the local government units. The DSWD comes into the picture to augment our local government units when they don't have enough resources. As mentioned, we've already released close to 1.5 million family food packs since this started. That's around 14 days ago, and we continue to distribute them in areas that are still affected, that still have evacuees. What we're doing right now is we're doing disaster response at the same time producing more family food packs so that we can keep on building our inventory for the next couple of storms.
Okay. Now, Secretary, President Marcos in his sonnet said that there should be an amendment to the four-piece laws, possibly to extend the stay of a beneficiary beyond 7 years. Now, do you think it has enough support in the Senate and House, and how long should a beneficiary stay in the program?
Let me contextualize that. What he meant was, and I think he mentioned it for succeedingly in the SONA, that a person's stay in the program should be dictated by the economic status of a person. Meaning, if your life got better, then you should exit already. It shouldn't be an arbitrary number. You have to remember, DSWD does case management. Our social workers visit our four-piece beneficiaries regularly. So if they see and they apply assessment tools, if they see improvement in the economic status of a family, then you can exit. 1.4 million families have already exited since 2023 and 2024. So what the president meant was we have to contextualize exiting in a program. The 7 years number is quite arbitrary. Sometimes you might be able to exit earlier than 7 years. And in some cases where there are unexpected crises that hits a family, then there might be some families that might need longer than 7 years. Case in point, when COVID happened, a whole bunch of families were slated to exit before COVID. But when COVID happened, it set them back by 2 years to 3 years. And then you had the inflation shocks that happened 2 years ago or a year ago. So that set them back further. So basically what we're trying to see is when we do the exits in our conditional cash transfer program, it has to be based on your economic status. Our social workers must be able to assess whether you're still qualified to stay in the program or exit the program. And let me just point out, worldwide, the conditional cash transfer scheme is a tool or a modality used to uplift people's lives. But no program in the world has a 7-year cap. Everybody uses an assessment tool or a proxy means test to exit or put somebody into the program.
Now, Secretary, you mentioned that the livelihood program would better be done. It would be done better after they exit the four-piece program. Now, when that happens, and if that happens, would the DSWD be working with agencies like TESDA or DepEd in terms of creating a educational foundation for the livelihood program that Senator Tulfo wants to happen?
As it is right now, it's a convergence program. The law prescribes that multi-agencies, because we know that poverty is not one agency's purview, but it's a whole of government approach. As it is right now, TESDA, SHED, DTI, DepEd, and a whole ADOLE, and a whole bunch of agencies are really part of the convergence. That when a person exits a family exits the program, then the convergence of agencies must come in to ensure that aftercare is provided, after program care is provided. And clearly, the DSWD does not have the technical expertise for entrepreneurship. So we really do tap into the expertise of DTI, TESDA, and the likes, CDA,
so that it becomes sustainable.
Development Authority, to ensure that families who graduate out of the program sustain that upward trajectory and they don't slip back into poverty, or else the human investment to human capital will go to waste.
And finally, Secretary, we saw in the DSWD Facebook page that there's a new satellite office along Commonwealth Avenue. Now, do you plan to open in other areas?
I think you're a bit, let me just clarify. We open satellite offices pretty much every single month. It's nothing new. It's just that it's one of the many satellite offices we've opened and will continue to open.
Okay, Dana, thank you very much for joining us this morning, Secretary Gatchalian. Thank you.
Thank you.